Because I have already learned my total result.
That's wrong. Did you put the 4.5 mil back in?
So, building up an e-commerce website is really hard, it's really difficult, and most of the time is a very complex process. And as you know, we've already been through several things, right? We've been through components, through customer journeys, and trying to understand what does it require to build something that stands out, okay? And then ultimately build something that converts those visitors into customers, right? And that's what we said the conversion rate was. But what we also said that conversion rate is not necessarily just about selling, right? It could be about other desired action that you set up as an online business. It could be a sign-up process. It could be the fact that you want to get your users to like your products, okay? It could also be that you want people to download a report or a white paper or something like that. So there can be all sorts of things that ultimately are your conversion rate. If you have a blog, right? Conversion rate for you is not selling because you're not selling anything, right? The conversion rate for you is actually getting people to sign up for that blog. So that's your conversion rate for you. Now, you've done all of those things very well, right? You have a good website that looks good, that has got a good, fantastic customer journey put in place, and people find it very easy to use. But if nobody knows about it, then what's the point? And that's when marketing comes in. Marketing is the opportunity to tell the world that you exist. And so, my question is, have you ever tried to run a business without customers? It doesn't work, right? We are in business because somebody decides to trust in our service and products we sell. And so, that's why marketing comes very handy. Now, if you ignore marketing, you pretty much say to yourself, I don't mind not having customers. Well, then you don't have a business. So, what we're going to look into today, when it comes to digital marketing, we're going to look into pay-per-click advertising opportunities, social media. Now, social media, we're going to spend a good amount of time on this one because this one is big. Okay? We're going to look into content marketing a little bit, affiliate marketing with not too much time, mobile, video, email marketing as well. Of course, there is a lot in this one today, right? And we don't have time to cover everything. But that's why it's absolutely essential that you continue with your reading after the session to pick up on some of these things. And then if you have any question, you're more than welcome to email me on something that you do not understand. And last but not least, we will talk about the weekly activity that we want to cover for next week. One of the most important things when it comes to promoting your products and services online is actually going through a specific process of doing what? Understanding who your customers are. That's the most important thing. Why is that? Because you might be sending offers, right? Or you might be sending discounts, or you might be sending all sorts of things to a group of customers, but they're not your types of customers. So you're wasting your time. How many times you received offers from different retailers online about things you're not even interested in? You love cars when they send you offers about bikes. You say, why would I need a bike? I don't like bikes, right? But that's because the company did not put enough effort to understand you well and to understand your needs and your desires and everything else, so then they offer you relevant marketing material. And that's why that's really important. Next one is setting yourself goals. Whoever your customers are, you need to make sure you set yourselves a goal with whatever marketing channel you use, whether that's social media, pay-per-click, newsletters, whatever you do, you've got to make sure you set yourself some goals. But these goals need to be realistic, right? We're talking about smart, realistic goals. Why? Because you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by setting yourself goals down so high that you won't be able to achieve them, and yourself and the entire team and the entire company will be so depressed by the fact that they didn't achieve what they said they would achieve, and that just affects the overall culture in the company and also the feeling about the marketing strategy. After we understood who our customers are, we set ourselves some goals, then we'll identify and select different channels that we want to use when it comes to advertising. Now those channels could be social networking channels like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, could be newsletters, pay-per-click, whatever it is. We need to know which are those social channels we will be using. The reason why that is important again, because you would be using channels where your customers spend most of the time in. Now if you have a group of customers who you can see that most of their time they spend in Pinterest, why would you go and do something else on LinkedIn? Because they're just not there, right? So in other words, you are building up a strategy which is a lot more efficient. And efficiency is really important because we, in old times, managed to receive high budgets for like marketing efforts, right? But now everyone wants to know how much they're going to get in return for the investments they're putting in. They're not going to just say to you, oh, you got all these brilliant ideas, here's $500,000, do whatever you like with it. It doesn't work like that. You're really going to show that you understand clearly how you're going to get some return on investment and how that's going to play an overall strategy of the company. After that, you will identify the resources. You need to know how much people can support your efforts, right? Who is in your company, what are their skills, and what do they do? Okay? Now, lots of people, when it comes especially to social media, they say social media is free. Well, that's not true. Why would that be? Why I'm saying it's not true that social media is free? You're on Facebook, you're on Twitter. Yes, please.
Because you're selling your personal data.
Yes, but there is more to it. Anyone else?
They have,
Why social media is not free?
they have paid service for companies for, right? They have paid service for customers, like for companies, for promoting them.
Yeah, that's true, but there is more to it. Why do you think it's not free? Yes, please.
That takes time and effort.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the platforms itself, they are free to use, right? You can go, set things up, blah, blah, blah. Unless you do some advertising, they are free. But how are you going to run all those social activities? How are you going to manage that customer engagement online? And how are you going to build up a strategy, overall strategy to achieve your goals? Well, of course, you've got to have people. Now, people spend time, and time is money. So as soon as you start to calculate how many people require you to look after your social media campaign between this day to this day, social media campaign between that day to that day, then you start to make sense of the amount of hours people spend. And those hours are going to come from somewhere, right? So it's absolutely essential we understand that. So resources are important. Then after you've done that, after you identify resources, you need to make sure that your social efforts are not just under one individual at the company. Everyone in the company, one way or another, engages with the audience to actually help and support them. If you're going to rely on only one single individual, you're missing the point. Because first, you're going to kill that poor guy, okay? And second, he's going to give up before you realize. He'll go with some other company. And third, he or she is not going to make it to support every single customer out there. Because it's just one person, right? That's why everyone in the company needs to be social media advocate. And that's why this is the time when you start to put everyone together to make sure that they understand what they're doing. And once you've done that, then you start to engage and educate your customers. Customers are very willing to buy from you if they have received some sort of incentive from you. That can be a content, an educational piece of content, something that helped them with their problems. And if you manage to do a good job with that, it's very likely that they will buy from you. How many times you use a service online and they kind of sort out a problem for you that you had at home or with your car or with your computer or whatever, and the next time you wanted to buy something, the first thing you did, you checked whether these guys do sell anything. Because if they do, you will buy from them. Because you already started to connect with them, because they are helping you and they're educating you. So for businesses now, it's really important to kind of go out, help, and then ask for sale. A very good book on this is the Jab, 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 Right Hook from Gary Vaynerchuk. Okay? And what he talks about in his book, he talks about the whole change and shift in the social media platform now, where you're meant to be supporting, and then asking for a sale. Actually, he uses this from the boxing activities that successful boxers use, okay? Where they pretty much have a clear plan how many times they're going to hit the opponent, right, before they go with a strategy to kind of get them down, right? So it's the same thing with the strategy as well. You've got to make sure that you're planning everything, you're supporting customers, you're educating them. Then after that, you're asking for a sale. And you don't mind to be asked for a sale if you have received some sort of support from the company. Then after that, of course, you're likely to get that conversion rate a lot higher. Why? Because you've already proved yourself that you're worthwhile doing business with. That's the key thing. As soon as companies, or if it's B2B or if it's B2C for customers, as soon as they realize that you're genuinely there to do business, and therefore you don't mind connecting with people and helping them, showing them that you're really interested to help them, then the business is going to be quite easy, quite straightforward. Because we hate to be dealing with companies that do not care about us, they just care about our transactions and our account details, credit card details, right? And we know there are lots of companies like that. So you can see there's all this huge shift in today's digital age on companies that they kind of need to be a bit more human, right? They need to make sure that they connect with us in a way that they've never done before, because otherwise we won't do business with them. Now, social channels, we all know social media is big. Starting from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Google+, everything else. They're really huge, right? Now, that's why, because there's so much happening there, and because you have these billions of people spending time in these social channels, and some of these people might be your own customers, you can't really afford not to be there. In fact, it's actually riskier not to be in social media than to be there. Because if you're not there, you don't know what's happening, you don't know what people are talking about. So they can really be talking about very negative things about your service and product, and you're not even there to understand or hear or do something about it. But when you're there, you can do something, you can take some actions, deal with customers, and bring some of those heated discussions offline. Now, of course, tablets and mobile are big too, and really they're changing everything. They are helping these social networking channels to get to the point where they are with us all the time, 24/7. Now, when you would think that Facebook had enough in terms of the numbers and they're happy with the billions of people that they have, they're not stopping there, because they really aim to connect the world together, right? So what they're doing now is that they started project with other companies to launch services, free services, Facebook and a few other company services, to developing countries. Okay, and as soon as the users want something more, they would actually have to pay for other service. But Facebook and a few other companies would actually offer free services through 3G internet connections in developing countries. And they do that with a collaboration with other telecommunication companies in the world. And that's what Mark Zuckerberg in the social media, well, in a conference in Barcelona, he talked about, right? Just a few days ago. So the whole idea is trying to say, okay, well, now we know the area, we haven't connected the world. Now, when you thought that, well, they have over 1 billion people, now what do they want more? That they actually want to connect everyone. So there is no end to this thing. The social thing is just going to expand and expand and expand to the point where everyone is going to be connected. Now, as a business, if you're not going to be there, you're missing out on huge amounts of opportunities that come to you. And that's why I call social media from time to time a gold mine for businesses. But lots of them still don't see it. Okay, and I meet businesses all the time. We have sessions where we help businesses one-to-one. We have workshops and things like that. And you'll be surprised what they say about social efforts. They say, we're just too busy, we don't have time. And then I'm saying, well, what are other marketing efforts that you do? Well, we send some brochures, some flyers and things like that, but we don't have time to deal with social. And then I ask, well, how many of your customers do actually spend time in social networking sites? They say, well, I've seen several businesses that we work together. They're on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, they're quite active, but we don't engage. Okay, well, what happens if you did something about it? Okay, how would that turn into overall success in the business? Now, the reason why all of these efforts are important is because when it comes to the customer funnel, right? Edelman in 2012 in his journal article, his research was about trying to understand what happens, what is a typical funnel in the customer journey. And he started to kind of pick up on how do customers search online with all sorts of brands. They have multiple types of brands that they search online. Then they start to focus on fewer brands, right, as they go down the funnel, and then they kind of talk to their friends and to their peers, and then suddenly they make their final choice and then they buy, right? But throughout this process, companies, what do? They put everything they can in different levels to try and convince you. So everyone is fighting for your attention. Everyone. You open your inbox, boom, boom, boom. You've got so many emails, right? Because everyone wants your attention. Amazon wants something, eBay wants something, Apple wants something. All these companies you've ever used, they want your attention. But that's why, in this case, if you had a social media effort put in place, you could enable converting some of your visitors and getting it in your business from all those high competition, well, the tough competition that happens, right? Because you are helping them and educating them. So by the time they get to this point, they have already made their mind. So you've got to give to get something back. And that's why social media can be very effective way of converting customers. And they can be in every single level that you want. So it's, again, other social marketing channels and other marketing strategies as well. They do work. However, with social media, you can follow up with everything and you can have a chance to start to build that relationship, that connection. Because once you've done that, chances are high that you will get their attention and get their business. An interesting quote from John and Tim. They say, of course, your customers aren't just connected, they are engaged. So in other words, you can't just build up a marketing strategy, put these messages out, and then just sit and wait because everything is going to be just fine. It doesn't work like that. Customers now, more and more, they want to connect with you. They want to engage with you because they have questions, they have comments. They don't understand your product. They have problems in your life. in their life that you need sorting them out. You need to give them ideas, give them tips, all sorts of things, right? And that's why that effort is not free. It costs money. But if you do a good job, then you're likely to build a customer base that are gonna last you for a longer time. And your entire business can go, well, your entire factory can be burned out, right? But if you have a good customer base that trusts your business, they'll come after you again. But if you have the best factory, the best center in the world, but your customers are actually not that sure about your products and services, they're just going to leave at the second chance they have to go with your competitors. Now, what's happening with all of this? Well, there is a shift. There is a shift in today's world, right? And that shift is going from firms to actually customers. Now, I call it social power. It's because for the first time in a way in the history, really, when you talk about it, and when you think about it as well, is that all this power is with customers now. Why? Because they have all these tools. They can reach out to everyone in the world today if you do not deliver. Now, can you afford, as a business, not to be able to let down several customers that have, for instance, I don't know, millions of followers on Twitter? That would be a very bad idea. Because the reach that these people have in the world is huge, right? Even if only 30% of those people who follow that 1 million guy, right? That still would be really bad PR for the company, very bad reputation. So all this power is shifting now. And social media is playing an important role in this shift. Now, it's really good for customers because they're really going to compete to get the best service they can. But for business, it's going to be really hard because they have to deliver consistently. They have to make sure that they do a very good job, because if they don't, they will be penalized for it. And customers will go with someone else. And of course, throughout this process, word of mouth plays an important role in the social media as well, where you tend to tell your friends, everyone in your family, that okay, they should never be using certain company because they are really bad. Now imagine when you turn that word of mouth opportunity into social media channels, where you have thousands of followers on Facebook, Twitter, or Pinterest. You can reach out to so many people, right? And something like this was never possible in the past. All you could do, write a complaint letter, send to the company. Maybe someday, at some point, somebody will come back to you with an apology. In most cases, they don't even reply to you. But that was pretty much it. You phoned someone, you had to wait 15, 20 minutes in the phone, and actually pay for that phone too, for that phone call that you're making, and really getting nowhere. But now, because everything is public, the game has changed. And so companies need to realize that, and of course, with our e-commerce and global kind of strategy, global plan, we need to put this into perspective and see how this plays with overall strategy of our e-commerce plan that we have, development plan for a business, right? So it needs to be there. So why is this important? What do we need to do? Well, the next thing is that we need to be good students. We need to learn. We need to learn and understand social channels. We need to know what are these social channels and how well do they play with our business. Okay, which are the ones that we should be using and spending most of the time with and why. So again, the idea that as a marketing manager, you understand everything, and you don't have to worry too much about studying or experimenting with different social channels is really bad. Because things are changing and we have to keep up with this change, right? You have to learn and improve and understand how these play an important role in your business. Now, an interesting model from Wenk and Emuran in 2005 in their journal article, when they looked at the role of social networking services for the companies, especially for e-commerce, they kind of identified several important elements to improve the trust that people have in the company using social networking channels. So from the research they've done, they picked up on several things. Okay, they said, look, companies that do manage to build that trust, they need to kind of put out a lot of content, engage with their followers, and making sure that trust can be expanded into some of the services. The next one is, of course, the testimonials, right? If you do a good job, you've got to make sure that those customers that do receive a very good service from you, they're happy with it, you pick them as your testimonials and you share that. And you've seen this in almost every second e-commerce website, really, where you see, okay, this is what people say about our services, this is what people say about our product. It's just everything to make you as comfortable as possible that you are in the right store. Okay? And it does help. And consistently the research does test out these things, right? And they actually do help, do a very good job. Okay? The next element, which is quite important, is experience in online presence. So if customers start to build up an idea that they have a very good experience while engaging with you in social networking channels and in e-commerce, they're likely to say, okay, we'll stick around with you because you really understand what are you doing with those activities. And the next one is, of course, that was identified is the monetary risk. Why is that? It's because you tend to spend all of this time and you don't know what you're getting in return. It's really hard to put a return on investment on social media, right? Why? Because you will have people who engage with you and maybe decide to purchase from you. And we have evidence continuously showing that that's the case. But it's quite hard to say. It's more about building up a relationship with customers, so then that relationship could become a business in the near future. So, in fact, Brian Solis, in his book, Social Media Bible, he talks about the fact that relationships today are a currency of digital economy. Now, that's how much he gives to this very important element, right? So, when you have good relationship with your customers, and a very, very, a reputational type of business, then you're likely to do very well indeed. Now, what do we need to do next? Of course, the next thing is that we need to build that social media strategy. We need to know how we can put things together for our digital presence, our e-commerce shop, or whatever else that we're doing. And the first and most important thing that you could actually do is to, of course, use a very simple model, which is SWOT analysis, and you all have used it to identify what are your strengths in your business, what are your weaknesses, what are your threats and opportunities that you might have if you went ahead with a social media strategy. It will just help you, like a quick tool, to help you understand where are you with the business and what can you do about it. Okay? And I'm sure many times for your own research you've done in the past or you're doing now, you probably picked up elements that you would have never thought of with the help of SWOT model. Now, after that, you will need to do some of the following things. You need to start researching your customers. Who are your customers? Understand them. Understand where they spend most of the time. Which social channel? What time of the day they seem to be more engaged, and why? Then, of course, the next thing as a business, you will create a good presence, a good profile in specific social channels. You will then define your goals. You put yourself some goals. The biggest problem with some of the social media efforts, according to research, is that they just go into these channels without having a clear idea of what they want to get out of it. It's like taking your car and just driving, but you've got no idea where you're going. And that's not always a good choice, right? You've got, if you don't know where you go, you've got to have your TomTom or something. It actually shows you a route to get to where you want to get. You can't just drive and drive and drive. You've got to know where is that end thing, right? And that's why having that goal makes it very good for the company. Next, selecting an appropriate social channel. So after you've done the previous step, you identify the social channel that works best for your business. Identify resources. Remember, this comes from time to time. Why? Because you've got to know that you have people to help you out. If you do not have people that are supporting you, you might have the best social networking strategy in the world. It won't do anything. Because you can't run it, you can't achieve it, you can't engage enough. And so that's why ultimately it comes down to people. So everything you see around is because there are some interesting, exciting people that get together to provide services and products. Publish content, fun and educational as well. So again, it's about giving and giving as much as you can. Now, the competition from companies is really high. They are competing to get our attention through different types of content, right? They do videos, they do images, animations, all sorts of things to get our attention. And obviously that counts are the most popular, photographs that are taken by lots of businesses to kind of share and make interesting cases. After that, you would then interact, engage, and educate your users. You would show to them that you are there because you want to support them in the problems that they have. Okay? Then, in other words, you then might be able to easily and freely introduce your offers and ask for them to buy. And that is fine. As long as you prove yourself, you're worthwhile spending time with because you have been helping out businesses or customers, then it will be fine if you ask for a sale. Because you've already done some good work in proving yourself how good you are. Now, another important element when it comes to thank you very much. Another important element when it comes to building up content is to start to make sure what is the type of content you're building. Now, according to research, the most engaging content is the content that is funny, entertaining, and people love it. So the next thing they're going to do, they're going to start to share it. Even if you can't share that thing, you'll copy the link, you'll find a way out, and make sure that this gets out to as many people as possible. Now you see all sorts of digital kind of plans that do just that. And I have a video here that I want to show to you, but I'm not sure about the audio though. Just to give you an idea that companies invest lots and lots of money to build up content. Because building up content is really hard. It's not easy, right? If you try it yourself and start to say, can I write something useful? Maybe you can write once, but then can you do it consistently? It takes time. It takes effort. And that time is money. So it's really hard, but companies do everything they can to build some of these things. And I've got a video about a TV channel that was launched, I think in Holland, that is quite interesting, it's quite good. Now, this was so much shared online, people talked about it so much that they came up with a question after this. And what do you think the question was? So when is the next push? Okay? The audience, that's what they want. They want to see this entertainment. They want to see this type of content. And now, when we talk about this type of content, using the hashtag from the campaign the company sets out, obviously they say, okay, we really want to know. And then the company say, okay, well, if you really want to know, engage with us, share this, and we'll tell you very soon, right? Let's just keep this conversation going, because that's what we want, right? And maybe after some point you'll decide to go and watch a channel, or to subscribe to it, or blah, blah, blah. So somehow, at some point, we're going to get more of your attention, and maybe some of your money too. Now, what's the next thing, of course, is making it so easy to share. Like, once you create a piece of content, you've got to make sure it's so easy and it's so straightforward to share. Now, what makes this possible are really the social media plugins. You see them in every single channel. There are all sorts of design, all sorts of things, but even the research done by several authors, they kind of identify as an important element, it's an important tool in that customer journey, just because it increases the rate and the reach of the content to the people. And that's because it makes it so easy. If we are asked to do too many things, right, we just ignore it. Customers need to have it very easy, very straightforward to do something online. Now, there are two things, according to research and some of the work that I've done in the past, is that online reputation comes down to two things really. It's about building up remarkable content and the sharing it. Those are the two big things that happen when it comes to social media and the social engagement on the web. And those two activities help you build online reputation. Now, reputation in the world today is really important. If you have a very good reputation online and people understand and people believe in what you're doing, you're very likely to get people to visit your store, your e-commerce website. And you're very likely to sell. Because you have proved yourself you're worthwhile. So in other words, the reason why social is hard and is difficult, because you are in an open game. And you don't know who you're playing against with, but you're just going to do a good job. You've got to figure out how to do a good job. And that's not always easy. But when you're out there and you prove yourself, then the audience will start to clap and say, that's a good job, right? And we'll be following you. Who are your team? Okay, which team do you support? Which team are you playing for? Because we want to come along with you in that journey. And that process helps the company, helps the people to build that reputation online. So, what are some of the things to think about? Well, you need to do a lot of research, you need to identify things, and hopefully during your masters here, you'll be able to really improve your research skills, your critical skills, because they're really important. They're not going to be important just for your time here, but they'll be important for the rest of your lives. Because a good, detailed, critical research is important everywhere you work. Okay? Not just for literature review and methodology and things like that you do in a business school. You need to set yourself goals. Those goals need to be smart, right? They need to be specific, measurable, straight to the point, realistic, and achievable as well. We need to have that in place. Then, social channels you'll be using, resources, we talked about resources, content that educates people, and then ultimately all of these activities can get people to convert. Now, let's move and talk a little bit about pay-per-click. We only have around 10 minutes or so to cover this, but we'll try to pick up some of the key areas, and then on your own time you have to play around with it a little bit and start to get a good understanding. Now, some of the most popular pay-per-click advertising platforms are the ones that you can see in here: ClickServe, Google, AdTool, Bidvertise, Target Point. These are really large providers, right? But of course, the most popular one is Google, and so they also have a platform put in place with the help of Google AdWords and Google Analytics to really track and see how well you do. Now, Pay-per-click, as it goes from the word, is the fact that you have decided to pay for every click that somebody makes into your ad. Now, where do you see these ads? Well, now you see pretty much everywhere, but when you go in google.com and then you start to search, every result you see in the main page, that's the organic search. That's what's called organic search. So people don't pay for that, but that's just organic search that Google algorithms pick up on the most popular content and the most relevant content, and based on the algorithms that they have, they work out through the page rank facility. The page rank is from 0 to 10, and the way how it calculates that, it makes sure that it checks out who are you linking to and what are those link building processes you put in place and how are important those people that you're linking to. And based on those calculations, Google gives you a higher place position in that organic search. On your right-hand side, you'll be able to see Google advertising ads, Google small ads, and those are the ads that you companies pay for. And every time you click on some of those ads, sometimes you forget, you're making company pay Google a specific amount of money. Okay, so every time you click on those ads, a company that plays that ad in there will pay Google a specific amount of money. And that's what is called pay-per-click. You only pay when somebody has clicked and then moved with your ad forward. Key ideas. Your advertising, of course, needs to express demand, so you are trying to fill a demand in there. Customers express a demand and you're going out to do something about it. Google said, as I said, has space through auction-based website where you can go and buy some of these keywords that are relevant to your business. After that, the good thing about this is that you can tailor your ads towards the place, location, even time of the day now. You can say to Google, I designed my ads and I want them to show in Hertfordshire, or I want to show them in Hatfield, and I want to show them between 5 and 8 in the evening because that's the only time I can catch students. Okay? Because that's the time they finish their lectures, they come back, they might be watching something online, and they'll probably be using Google services. Then of course, pay-per-click reveals demand and trends and keywords that tend to help with search engine optimization. Now, how to start? These are some of the quick things. I don't have to go into detail because you can play around with these things in your own time. But the most important thing is, of course, creating a Google AdWords account. And you learn by doing it pretty much. Just know you can listen to me for the entire day, and by the end of the session, you'll just forget everything. Okay? You've got to just go there and then play around with them and learn. It's like a skill that will be useful for you, no matter which type of social networking plan you have or like a digital strategy you have for promoting your products. You go in there, you identify the keywords you want to buy, you set yourself specific budget of how much you want to spend. You normally start with very, very small budgets, between sometimes it can be even £50, £100, something like that, just to see how it works. You start to do some research to identify what are the most popular keywords in the industry, and then you start to buy specific types of keywords and not general ones, and I'll show you the example in a minute. How to start? Of course, you start to identify keywords to purchase, and you pick up not general type of keywords, not like Hertfordshire, right? But you say even Hertfordshire travel, or Hertfordshire county, or Hertfordshire service, or anything like that. You're actually buying keywords that are more specific, right? Because general types of keywords are really expensive and they're normally used by large companies. And they can be, they cost really much. Now, if you start, once you've done a bit of homework, you identify keywords, you've done a bit of analysis on your own work, you start to build up your ads. Now, the headline of the ads can only have 25 characters. So you've got to make sure it has to be only that, it can't be any more. You have to have ad description of 35 characters per line. As you've seen, every single Google ad is of the same format. You can't find a single ad that is different from the other. The only thing that differs is the format, nothing else. You can't have any animation in there, you can have anything like you can't have. Google is very strict with that. And the reason for that is that you can't if you're a BMW, you can't go to Google and say, I'll pay you billions, just put me in the first place. In your Google search, my ad. I want my ad to be in the top place. It doesn't work like that. There are several criteria that Google uses to do that. First, is the relevance of your ad over time. How much relevance has your ad shown over time? How much people have clicked on it? And the second, how well your ad performed in overall conversion rate for your e-commerce or for your website. And after that, based on these calculations, Google starts to place you higher and higher into the positioning place. So you can't just go and say, boom, I'll pay you as much as you like to put in the first place. In fact, Google is very strict for the people and companies that try to play the system, right? Getting other people to click or start to introduce different spiders to kind of help them grow their reputation online. Again, when you spend some time in the advertising platform, you start to understand that you can specifically promote your products in different places at different times, settings, choose location, things like that. But you have to be very specific because you might be placing your ad in the whole UK when your business is actually in Hatfield. And what's the point? People will be clicking in your ad, you'll pay Google, but you're getting nothing in return. Because you are just allowing everyone to click, and ultimately if they live in Glasgow, that's not going to be very helpful, really. Now buying keywords, as I said, that's something that normally companies most of the time, according to research, gets things wrong. They've got to make sure that they have to have narrow types of keywords, not broad. So instead of having hearts versus hearts holidays or hearts country, because this keyword can be very expensive and large companies pay for it, and it's quite hard to get traffic using that keyword. But if you use hearts country, for instance, or hearts holiday, if you run a holiday business, then that's a better thing to do. There are lots of people from time to time that say, Google Ads, that's nothing. Nobody clicks on those things, right? They just a piece of text, not exciting, no animation, no nothing. It's just a thing, really. It doesn't do much to Google. Well, that's not the case. Google's third quarter last year was 14.9 billion. So we're talking 15 billion thanks to those ads that Google gave from. So when you think about how important these are, think twice, because they actually drive most of the traffic to Google. Sales earnings, of course, you make money when your revenue is greater than your costs, so you've got to make sure to be careful how much you spend. And there are several other things in there to think about. Your strategy can be short or long term, depending on what you want to get out of it. But mostly you've got to make sure that conversion rate is quite low. Remember we talked about this last time? Click-through rates, perhaps 5% of people who see the click would probably move to the next stage into the process and get into your website. But of course, you've got to also make sure that displaying those ads in Google over time, unless you have a good design advertising campaign, it won't do anything. Keywords availability is an auction-based website. You go and bid for keywords. You've got to play around with this to understand how that works. How to assess keywords. I'm giving you some tools you can use. And also some of these tools are quite clever to understand what our other e-commerce companies are doing to pick up and how much do they pay for keywords. So it's quite good. Play around with them and start to see what the others are doing. The top tips is really learn to write good Google ads.